Hello, and this is the Chaos Magic podcast. And on today's episode, we've got the fantastic Richard Jones.
Hello, Max. Good to see you, my friend.
Fantastic. And how did you first get into magic?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you, and it's good to see you doing a podcast. I think podcasts are great, and I think the more people doing them, the absolute better, especially for the magic community that is, because I
Yeah,
listen to some great podcasts and I learn a lot from them. So I appreciate you having me on. And
first of
I
all, thank you for
started
being on it.
magic. Say it again, sorry.
Thank you for being on it.
Hmm. A pleasure, my friend. It was lovely to see you at my show last week as well. I'm pleased you came along. It's always nice to have magicians at my show, so that meant a lot as well.
Yeah.
And my journey in magic began when I joined the army. When I first joined the army, it was 2010, and it was the first time I'd been sent away from home for a long time. I was sent overseas, and I was away for quite a long time. And in that time, I spent a lot of hours, many hours, trying to figure out what to do in my spare moments. So I started dabbling in card tricks, and the moment I saw the reactions from my colleagues and saw how much it brightened up the day of what was actually quite a tough time, it brightened up all of our moments, seeing their reactions, and that's when I realized how good magic could be. Even though the magic trick I showed them was absolutely terrible, it still brought a lot of joy to a lot of people. So that's when I really started it, and then after that I was obsessed. So every day I'd learn a new trick, and that
Yeah,
led me all the way to where I am now.
fantastic. And how did your military career shape your performance style?
I very often plan my shows in a very regimented way. Back in the army days, everything is structured, and you never do anything by half steps, and you always have a plan B and a plan C and a plan E and a plan F and all sorts of different plans in case things go wrong. And I always plan my shows with that in mind. So I'll always have my ultimate goal of what I want to create. I'll try my best to create that, and then I'll try and create lots of different versions, alternate versions, in case things could go wrong. Or and you can't always prepare for every eventuality, but the beauty of what we do, the more we perform, the more we understand the different outcomes that we need to prepare for. And more, a bit like comedy, you're only as good as the amount of shows you've done, because the routines and the ideas and the patter all gets better through performance and seeing the reactions people have. And but my planning schedule is very much built around my army mentality, for sure.
And when you apply for Britain's Got Talent, because of course you won Britain's Got Talent, an absolutely amazing act. Uh, did you have everything like planned out? Like, did you have like I knew I was going to use Venpad for this one. Did you like have it like all planned out or like stuff like that?
Absolutely not. So I didn't expect to even be on the show. So I turned up on the producers round of Britain's Got Talent, which is at the XL Centre, where you queue for about 8 hours and wait to see a producer. And then if you do well in that audition, they give you a little golden slip, which was in real sense was just a scrap bit of paper that said he's through. And that meant you go and queue for another producer, which is another 2-3 hours queue. And then you perform for them, and then you never hear anything back. So I didn't expect that I was going to be on the show. That was in October, and then I remember on a Monday in February, I had a call from them saying you're through to the first televised round, which will be on a stage in a theatre in front of the celebrity judges. And they only gave me 4 days to really prepare what I was going to do.
That
And
must have been
actually,
stressful.
yeah, it was. So it was a bit stressful. So I pretty much did what I did in my first auditions, apart from the fact that they said, "We've seen you on YouTube, we've looked you up, and we like this one particular trick. Can you add this in?" So they asked me to add in a piece of magic, which I did last minute, and I went and did the show, and didn't expect to get through. But then a few months later, they said you're through to the live show. So then I maybe had 3 weeks to prepare for my first televised round. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't expect to get through that round either. So I didn't have much planned for the final. I had an idea of what I'd love to do, but I didn't really have any sort of way of making it happen. And then on a Wednesday, I got through to the final, and I had until Saturday to put the final piece together. So it was a mad rush. And you'll find that in TV. When you do TV work, typically everything is super last minute rushed because quite often they want you to change what you've got planned for lots of different reasons. So you have to always be thinking on your feet.
And did the producers influence your routines or like the structure?
The only thing they influenced was my first televised spot. They wanted me to do a specific trick that they'd seen me do on YouTube. But after that, I was very lucky that all of the ideas for the semi-final and the final that I pitched to them, they were more than happy with, and they loved it. So they just left me to it. So, and funnily enough, I pretty much put it all together myself and just my friends who were helping me. And we didn't think of anything. We were very naive at the time because I was in way over my head. And it wasn't until after the show that I found out that most acts ask for a big budget and they spend tens of thousands of pounds putting all the bells and whistles on what they do. And in hindsight, I wish I knew that in advance because it meant I would have meant I could have put even more into it. But I was really pleased with what we created, and I was very lucky they left me to it, to be honest.
On the topic of that, do you have to buy your own tricks or do they like give you a budget for you to buy your own?
So really, if you're going to do a show like that, you want to be going to them with ideas of things you already do. You don't really want to be tailoring what you do already too much. But they do have a certain amount that they put together for the production of the live shows. So not the first auditions, but the live shows, they have budgets to put together. And it's the same, it's not just with magic. They have for singers, they decide that they want big podiums and dancers and all sorts of different things and confetti cannons and spark machines. So they have a budget for every act. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, but I didn't really utilize it. So they probably spent my budget on someone else's act in the end.
And do you think competitions like them or like competitions with magicians, do you think they reward the best magician or the best narrative?
It's a great question. The thing I like about Britain's Got Talent and those kind of shows is when you finish the show, people know a little bit about you, which I think is important. And because you could be the world's greatest at something and people might know you for being the world's greatest at something, but if they don't know anything else about you, there's no real personal connection. There's no relatability in that. And I think the great thing about Britain's Got Talent is it gives you a chance to see behind the scenes, see a little bit about you, which I think is important because everyone likes to see what's similar about someone they might idolize, for example. It's nice to know that you've got something in common with that person. And I think that's what's really special about it. So I mean, obviously, FISM is probably it is the Olympics of magic. That's where you'll find you'll decide the crowned winner of the best magician. But I mean, really making a living and making a career out of magic it's more about the full package. It's about being an entertainer and a person with skills rather than just one thing. And Britain's Got Talent really sets you up for that. I've been very lucky that my tour shows, the reason I think I do well in the tour shows, because a lot of people can relate to me in different ways, because I like to think I'm pretty normal and I just enjoy entertaining.
And because of Britain's Got Talent, have you made any friends? Like, have you become friends with Harry Moulding or Matt Edwards or Izzy Simpson?
Oh, I've got lots of friends because of Britain's Got Talent, and not just magicians, but I met lots of lovely people and most amazing performers over the years. But yeah, Matt Edwards, I was in Panto Matt Edwards many years ago, and a lovely guy, brilliant guy. Harry Moulding, I'm yet to meet actually, but I've had a few phone conversations with him, and I follow him on social media, and he seems like such a lovely man. So I was really pleased when he won. So who else? I mean, Maddox Dixon is one of my closest friends, and I only met him originally because I was visiting. I was going to watch Britain's Got Talent, and he was on that night, and I bumped into him earlier on in the day, so that was nice. And yeah, and the nice thing is, I think everyone who's been on that show and had that start, in their TV career or performing career. It's nice because everyone's had a similar experience. We all kind of understand each other um, really well. So yeah, it's a nice connection between people who have been on that show.
Yeah. And because your stuff are more like storytelling, how do like people who are getting into like storytelling or like mind reading, how do they stop storytelling and magic from feeling like manipulative or forced?
Yeah, that's a really important question because I try to only tell stories unless I'm telling a story that's just a joke and it's for the comedy value. The real story narratives that I do, it's very important that they're things that mean a lot to me, and they're always story driven, magic second. So in my tour shows, for example, over the years, I've had some really meaningful ideas and stories and themes that I wanted to share. And I always started with that, and I want to keep the integrity of that story intact. And I'll try to add magic into it just to boost that story and the message that's being shared. Because I think you can always tell if someone's trying to share a moment with you in a meaningful way, but you can tell it's not quite true. It always stands out. You can tell when there's not a real connection to what they're telling. So it's always if you have, I mean, people might decide they don't have a message to share, and that's fine as well. But if you do have a message that you really want to share, you want to inspire people in some sort of different way, then start with that, and the magic should come second.
Okay. And what has changed for you since winning Britain's Got Talent?
Oh, I've been very lucky. I travel the country and the world now, just meeting lovely, lovely people. And my biggest achievement in myself is being able to do a tour show every year. Every year we put on a completely new tour show, and it's what I enjoy the most because that's where I meet the most lovely people up and down the country. People, a lot of those people are the ones who picked up the phone to help me get to where I am now anyway. So it's nice to meet them because I wouldn't be here without them. And I have such a lovely life now. It's such a great thing to make a career out of making people smile. It's really special. So yeah, every magician, we're all very lucky that we have that ability.
And speaking about your tour show, you did this thing where it's like a ring and you were like telling a story about the ring and you lost the ring at the wedding. Is that actually a true story?
It that is based on a true story, yeah. So that's an example where stories aren't always 1,000,000% true, but only when I'm telling a funny story. I added a little bit to the story. I won't ruin what the story is because it is a funny story that yeah, most people hopefully will come and see in the show. But the idea, the basic story is true. I did do a. It was my first ever gig. It was a wedding, and I borrowed the bride's ring, which I now would never do at a wedding. The bride's ring, I think, is sacred on her finger for that whole wedding day. And but I did borrow it, and I did lose it. We found it eventually, but I was sweating a lot because I couldn't figure out where it had gone. I can't remember how I was planning on vanishing it, but whatever I had planned, all I remember is I did it horribly and was panicking. So, but for the full story, I'll let people come and hear it at the tour show.
And of course, your main big thing about your tour show is the burnt shoe routine. I absolutely love that by making the big teddy bear appear, by making the fish appear, and then their shoe. How did you come up with the idea about the fish and the teddy bear?
So we have a theme in the show, which is I don't want to ruin it too much, but a theme where Lion King is prevalent in the show. But also, I just loved the hilarious comedy of borrowing someone's shoe, completely accidentally ruining it, and then leaving them without a shoe for the whole rest of the show, and just the mystery of people wondering is he ever gonna is he ever gonna find that boy's shoe? And I love the idea that in the interval there's a small child walking around with one shoe on, and people seeing that and wondering if I'm really heartless and I'm never going to give him his shoe back. So I kind of love that idea, and I always try to add something in the show that is a real talking point in the interval, and I think that's a real good talking point. And I actually finished the show without giving it back, and then so people find that hilarious, and I think it's brilliant. that he never gets issue back. But then obviously at the end, I do come back on and we do a second
Yes.
finale where it all resolves itself. But I just think it's hilarious for for someone in the audience to think they're going home without a shoe.
And also inside the show that I saw, you do not this thing where it's like saying like I've got a beautiful baby girl, and then you just led it to the dog. Like, was that all scripted, or would you just like find a story for that when you were like during the show?
Yeah, I really wanted to involve my little girl in the show, and by little girl, yeah, I mean my little Pomeranian dog. She's called Lady. I wanted to involve her in the show because she's amazing, and there were some stories I wanted to share about her and being a dad to a little Pomeranian puppy. But I couldn't bring myself to actually use her in the show because I would be horrified if she panicked and felt uncomfortable because you never know how an animal is going to react under the spotlights with people cheering and clapping. So I didn't want to actually use her in the show, but I do reference her in a real fun way, and yeah, that's a really nice moment. It's my way of showing a little bit about me as a person within the show.
And is inside the show everything scripted, like all like the meaningful moments or like the comic things? Is like all of that scripted, or do you just find it along the way during rehearsals?
Um, I'll, yeah, pretty much all of the routines in the show, I would have originally come up with a plan of what I wanted to do first, put a script into motion, written it down, and but that script changes hugely over time. I probably rewrote the script maybe 5 shows in to what felt like it was going in the way it felt like it worked best. But then, to be honest, since then it's changed again. I would say probably every show the script changes so much that I just never get the time to completely update the script. But I should really, because then later down the road in years to come, if I want to come back to those ideas, it would be good to have that written out. But I always start with a script, but it very rarely stays the same as when you first write it.
When you're starting the show, you have the audience sing 500 miles. Was that scripted, or was it just like something like for like the audience to do while you were like waiting backstage?
I like having a way of warming up the crowd before I come out. I think it's really nice to have them already interacting with each other before they come out. So I like to do a little sing song beforehand, and I have a little video of me talking before the show to so that people have seen me and they know it's going to be a fun night, and so that by the time I come out, I don't need to waste any time explaining who I am, what we're going to do. We can get straight into it. So I think that's a nice way of getting them involved. But also, it's nice for me when these videos are playing before the show. Sometimes I'll peer out the curtain and just have a look and see if there's anyone in the audience who I think will be good for certain parts of the show. Because the last thing I want is to get someone who looks really up for it in the audience to come on stage and then panic or feel nervous or go really quiet or shy. I want to make sure the person I get up is someone super confident so that everyone in the audience can stay relaxed and doesn't feel uncomfortable.
And what misconception do magicians have about winning a show like Britain's Got Talent?
Um, Good question.
Like,
It's a really good
is it all
question.
planned?
And
Like, do you know beforehand? Like, what happens?
oh yeah, no, it's a legit show. It's all down to the votes, and it's run. I mean, it's run so strict behind the scenes to make sure no one ever meets any judges behind the scenes, and make sure like it's really well controlled to make sure that it's fair. I think the big thing I would say is when you come off a show like that or you win the show like that, that's really the starting point. I spent the first year really finding my feet in the industry, especially when I was being booked for a lot of corporate events. I was way over my head. I was performing way out of my comfort zone, but that helped me grow fast anyway. But my show at the time, my corporate show, I wasn't ready. I was doing corporate events with 3,000 people in the audience and not great because I wasn't used to doing that kind of scene. It wasn't framed. It wasn't planned very well, and I didn't have the experience. Now I've learned so much from it, but I think the important thing is that I realized the moment I won, that was the starting point. That wasn't the peak. That was me at ground one starting. And now I've risen back up, and I like to think I know what I'm doing now, pretty much. But it was a big learning curve for sure.
And did winning the show did it make it easier for you to get bookings or just different?
Absolutely. So I still get a booking request quite often from people who say, "Oh, I've just watched your Britain's Got Talent audition. Are you available for our event?" Blah 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 blah. So people who have not even seen me since then and have not heard of me before are still randomly coming across my videos on YouTube or Instagram of my appearances on Britain's Got Talent, or sometimes appearances that I've done since, and still wanting to book me from those. So it's been great for me really, and it's 10 years since I won, and I'm still getting bookings, which is nice. So yeah, it worked well for me. I'd recommend it for everyone who wants to challenge themselves and push themselves out into the deep end for sure.
And if you were competing today, what would you do differently? Like you said earlier, like you'd use a bigger budget for like the magic. What else would you do differently?
My performing style now is very different to how it was back then. I would be a lot more light-hearted in what I perform now. I've done many spots since Britain's Got Talent on the show as a guest act, but Britain's Got Talent are always keen for me to keep the same persona, quite serious, quite meaningful, which I do like. But my tour shows are quite light-hearted. They're very comedy-led, to be fair, and I would like to show that part of my personality now, but it's tricky to do that because every time they want me back, they want me to be the soldier of illusion and be quite strict and rigid. So, but if I was to re-audition and say it didn't, if I wiped out my previous time on BGT and start again, I would probably perform in a very different style, more light-hearted, more energy, and yeah.
Just wondering if you do like the beach audition and if you're live on air, can you re-audition again if you're not through to the semi-finals?
Yeah, I've seen people do that. Yeah, who that has been done, and a number of people have been aired but not got through to the semi-finals, and then come back a few years later. And I actually auditioned in for Britain's Got Talent in 20. I think it was probably the year before, 2014 maybe. And but I didn't get anywhere. Um, I can't even remember what I performed, but I went. But that's probably the reason I did quite well when I did go on it again, because I went back more prepared. The first time I wasn't prepared at all. I was just doing it just for the sake of it, and then when I went back, I had more of a drive and more of an understanding of what to do. So sometimes that's the best thing to do: go along, understand the process, and come back a few years later and try again.
And what are some of the biggest mistakes you see magicians, like new magicians, make now, or that you think that's not really right?
Wow.
You can be as harsh as you want to.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I mean, the only thing I think is really important about magic, which I have to remind myself about often as well, because it's something we all fall victim to, and that is uh, when you perform and you see lovely reactions and you see how much impact you can have as a magician, it's almost like the adrenaline buzz becomes very addictive, and it's quite easy to for our own egos to take over and for us to think that magic is all about us and showing what we can do and look at us how great we are because we're superhuman. But actually, I think the most important thing is to always try and remind ourselves that actually magic is all about the person watching. The real magic happens in their own imagination and their creations and the connection that they feel to what you've done. And I think it's really important to keep the energy and keep the focus on serving other people rather than absorbing applause and energy from them. It's all about giving what we can give to other people rather than what we can take for ourselves. And that's something we all do, including myself. I need to remind myself. I always try and remember that actually is to let the ego pass and try and share real magic in the connections.
And when you buy tricks for a show, do you think about the storyline first, or do you think about whether the audience will love it?
I think both of those are important. To be honest, when you're putting a full show together, a full two-half show, you want elements where it's story and important and there's a message behind it, but also you want fun, light-hearted moments where something visual, fun happens that doesn't have as much meaning. So it's good to have a mixture of all things. So I always like seeing what people are creating and seeing if there's an interesting twist I can put on it. And yeah, so I play around. I buy lots of stuff, and most, probably 90% of the things I get, I never use, but I still love seeing how it works. And because years down the line, you never know, that creation might spark a new idea in your mind that you wouldn't have thought of if you hadn't have understood how someone had done something years before. So I think it's still worth dabbling in all sorts of different magic.
And finally, one final question. Where can people buy tickets to your amazing show?
Oh, that's very kind. richardjonesmagic.co.uk. All my tour links are on there. We're still adding some more. We add them through more dates throughout the year. But richardjonesmagic.co.uk, and follow me on at richardjonesmagic on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And if any of you are coming to see the show, especially if you're magicians, drop me a message beforehand because it's nice to know you're in the audience, and also always nice to know what you think of the show after. So yeah, appreciate that.
Well, thanks for being on the podcast.
You're very kind. And I've got a question for you before we go, if that's okay.
Oh,
Do you
yeah,
see
go ahead.
yourself doing Britain's Got Talent one day? Is that something you think you'd want to do?
Maybe. I'd have to look into the contract a bit first, but yeah, I'd absolutely love to do it one day.
That's a good point. Always read the contract. Yeah, good point. Something I probably should have done. But no, good to hear. Well, you've got my support. If you ever need any help, yeah, get in touch.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you. Thanks for being on the Chaos Magic podcast. Goodbye.
Pleasure. Thank you.